Hello, welcome back to Auto Pop Culture, and today we're going over the Epix original series called The Truth of the Harry Quebert Affair. So this is actually a mini-series, this adaptation of a novel or with the same title by Joel Dicker. I have not read it, but I definitely, once I saw that the show going on, I definitely wanted to get into it. The whole premise of the whole show is pretty much this iconic writer named Harry Quebert pretty much is suspected for murdering a young girl inside this town in Maine. After a year before a year after she disappears a year earlier, and pretty much the whole premise is his protege that comes in and pretty much tries to find like the story behind it and everything to try to prove him innocent. So I wanted to tell you guys that the beginning, just so you guys know, because I would love to know this as well, is that it is a slow burn. So you kind of like, I want to say by episode 3, episode 4, it kind of entirely picks up because everything starts happening. It's like that. And even at the end, it kind of just like, it even picks up any faster. I thought the whole thing was pretty good. Like, even with the slow beginning, it's still the whole climb to it to kind of give you the whole background of what's happening. Because the whole thing is very, like, it's set in 2 timelines. So it's present. Well, it's set in 2008 and it goes back into like this, I want to say it was in the 80s, I want to say. So the 80s to 2008. And so, pretty much so you kind of go back and forth, and from the first 3 episodes, they have to explain everything and give you the backgrounds and everything. But it's like the whole thing it's meant like it's worth it in the end. So let me break down some of the characters. So Harry Quebert is played by Patrick Dempsey, who's part of Grey's Anatomy. Then you have Marcus Goldman, who's the protege who's played by Ben Schnarzer, or I'm gonna butcher this. Snarzer, who's been in the movie that I love called Pride, which is about this queer community in Ireland who supports the minors, and also kind of builds their own little gay pride kind of thing. So pretty much, Marcus is Harry Quebert's protege whose Harry has been mentoring since college, and he also made a great eventually came into his own success by having his own book. And so he moves to New York and he's having a great life and everything, and then he finds out that his mentor, Harry, is actually being convicted for murdering a girl in his little town in Maine. So Sunnyvale, I think it's called. So they go back to, so he pretty much goes there and tries to investigate and everything and figure out what's going on, because he doesn't think he killed her, isn't that Harry killed her at all. But we kind of open up to more things, because since it's 2 timelines, you get to see him. Harry Quebert's in jail right now, but you can see his hair is like crazy, very like Tim Burton, like gray, and it's all like crazy. We go back to the 80s, and he's much more, his hair is curly as like in Grey's Anatomy, darker, kind of like that. And so his book, Harry's book, is also becomes the clue into figuring out what's going on, because he pretty much has had this not much of a affair, because I've always seen affair as meaning that you are committed to one person and you're doing it with another person kind of thing. And so in my idea, it's not what I don't really see it as an affair, more than it's a bit of a pedophilia in a way, but they never have sex, they never do anything like crazy intimate other than they just are around each other a lot. But there is a undertone feelings between them, which makes it kind of weird. So the person that plays the girl, her name is Nola Kellingen, who's played by Kristen Froseth. who actually is, and Sarah Burgess is a loser. She plays like the mean girl who becomes her friend in the end. So she is the girl that ends up dying, but they have a relationship back in the 80s. Her and Harry, and so they kind of like she helps to type up the book, and they see each other over time. So she catches feelings and he catches feelings, but they don't really kind of let it be known until later on, and so then she ends up dead and buried inside, like her body's found inside his garden, or inside, yeah, it's on his property, and pretty much everybody's like, oh my god, it's him, and it goes through where Marcus has to go through and actually figure out what's actually going on, and so it goes between two timelines of him like looking up stuff and stuff like that, and finding out that Harry Quebert's book, which is called the Root of Evil. I'm in a complete blank, but pretty much his book is pretty much the basis of the relationship between him and Nola. So pretty much he just Marcus goes through all these things, and he comes in and he meets up with and to the point that he ends up staying at Quebert's big ass like house. It's like his house is house goals. It's just huge mansion-ish house that's like, you think mansion, you think very royal, but it's not. It's way more down to earth. It just has a 2-story kind of thing, and it's like right on the beach, right out like between like a forest and the beach. It's gorgeous, and so Marcus decides to stay there, and that's where Quebert kind of invites him to stay there too, to investigate. So and so we meet different people. So we meet like Perry, who's an officer, who's played by Damian Wayans Jr., who you might know from Happy Endings. It's like that. He's one of the mini Waynes. He's a son of the two like main Waynes. And then you meet him, and so he gets involved because he sees that Marcus is investigating and doing his own investigating. And on top of that, Marcus also has his own story to actually figure out to write. And so he decides to pretty much write his new story coming up based off of this investigation to kind of put the truth out there, so then people won't see him as like guilty. And things just start unraveling with this town as we go. Like, there's abuse going on with Nola. There's psychotic breaks that goes through with her and her family issues, like with her dad, who's she's getting beat by her mom, but he goes downstairs and turns up the radio into the garage so he doesn't have to hear the whole thing. And so that guy is actually Revlin Kurtagen, who's actually played by Matt Fuller, who you remember from Watchmen. He played Moloch, and then he also played in Supernatural. If you guys watch Supernatural, he plays Pestilence. So so he comes in the picture, and so he kind of unravels where people have their own issues about what they know about his Harry Quebert's relationship with Nola, and some people know, some people don't, and so it just unravels as is. But it's kind of interesting because you meet a lot of people that are like close to or pretty much you'd seen them in other things, but now they're in this, so you have Colm Farrow, who plays Elijah Stern. Elijah Stern is actually just rich guy inside the community in Maine, and he actually was in Chicago. He was in Chronicles of Riddick. He played the main guy, the main villain. And so it's just a whole breakdown, the whole thing, and I thought it was really good. I thought the turns really, really interesting. The plot kind of twists around, and you got you think you know something. You're like, okay, this is definitely the killer. Oh no, this is definitely a killer, and it just kind of breaks as things unravel. The more you kind of see things happen, and I think that's kind of cool. I think it's once again this slow burn for 3 or 4 episodes, but once it kicks in, it kicks in. I think the acting was really, really good. I think the Marcus Goldman is actually a great main character. I think that I honestly kind of when he's in the picture, I forget about Patrick Dempsey. Because he's in it, but he's not really the main purpose of it. As you go on, you start realizing that he is definitely has nothing. Like, well, this is a bit of a spoiler, so spoiler. So if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it and be surprised, I definitely think that you should go in completely blind. But just so spoiler completely right here. It's not really a complete spoiler, but there's more to it. But pretty much, it's just you find out that there's a lot more things to do that has nothing really to do with Harry Quebert, that has to do with that town in general. So, but I think that Ben Sernitzer, I think that he was a great actor. He did a great job. I've seen the way that I look at him, especially because he's Irish, so he has more of the he did his like American accent, which was really, really good, and he sounds amazing. And he kind of reminds me of more like a, because I don't really know what his future is going to be like, but if this is definitely a great like stepping stone. Like he can be a Tom Cruise. He could be like a more like a Ryan Felipe, kind of like in that like playing in those like moody kind of like movies and everything. Like I can totally see him. I can totally see him in action and moodiness, like moody like movies. It's a really good thing. It's a really good series. I definitely recommend trying it out. I give it a 8 out of 10 because I think it's just things that ravel, and it comes and it ends so nicely. It wraps up everything perfectly. It throws you off your edge because you're like, what? That's happening? What? That's happening? That's that? You know? So it's very interesting. So I definitely recommend watching it. It's on Epix. I have a unless you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you pretty much can get it there too. I don't know what's going on with this Epix thing, but they're trying to be a thing, and I don't think and I personally was just like, it's still like they're talking so much shit about Netflix for the longest time. I was like, well, I definitely don't want to give you the time, but it seems like they're actually doing some good stuff. So I'm open to give them more try in their kind of material, but this definitely is one of the material I definitely recommend. So leave a comment below, tell me what you thought of the show if you've seen it. Please go in blind. Please just give it a try. It's very moody. It's very like there's a lot of fog and ocean. It has that like East Coast like gloominess to it, which is really, really nice for like a relaxing Sunday to watch. So yes, give it a try. Comment below, tell me what you thought about it if you've seen it. And I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.